You're live.
This is the HR and Administration Committee meeting for Tuesday, May 9th. We are gathering in at 11:05 a.m. Thank you everyone who's joining us in person or online. And I would like to ask Pam to call the roll, please.
Good morning, Chair Howery.
Here.
Regent Balducci. Absence is noted. Expected, but currently absent. Regent Jappanen.
Present.
Regent Wright.
Here.
And Chair Howery, you have a quorum.
Thank you so much. The first item on the agenda is we're looking for an approval of the previous minutes from June 1st, 2022. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion of the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstaining? Approval of the minutes. So the major item we have today is a discussion item, and we are here for a presentation regarding HR shared services. And Ben Barnes is going to turn it over to Diane, I believe. So
yes, that's correct.
Ben, would you like to set this up for us?
Sure. Thank you for the opportunity to do that. I realized seeing the date of our last meeting minutes that we have let too far go, too much time elapse this year. It's been an eventful year with the final push toward reorganization of the community colleges into CT State. That is effective at the end of this fiscal year on June 30th to July 1st. There's been a lot of work across the business functions of the community college and system office to make that happen. And human resources is certainly a part of that. I know that Diane has done a lot of work to address some of the growing pains of the HR shared service organization. She's going to talk through some of those things that have happened and things that are in process right now. And then we will, I'd like to, I hope we'll have a chance to have some discussion and to get some guidance from you at the committee as to your some of your priorities for direction moving forward. So thank you for the chance.
Thanks, Ben.
Diana, it's all you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. It's good to see everyone today. I know, as Ben said, it has been quite a while since we last met. So I'm going to share with you just a brief presentation. I'm just going to go over some changes to the structure and some other updates in the last several months that have transpired within HR shared services. So, okay. All right, so I've just shared that. Can everyone see that?
You could make it a little bigger.
Let's see. How's that?
Fine.
Is that better?
Okay. Can you get rid of the bar on the right?
Close the tools.
Close the tools.
Yeah, it's
That little triangle in the middle of the gray bar.
I know it's giving me a hard time. Let's see. Here we go. How's that?
Better.
That better? Okay. All right, so it's good to see everyone. I'm just going to go through a few things that have been happening. So the first is probably a major one, some organizational changes within the actual structure. So payroll shared services is currently reporting through business services and through Ben Barnes, but now payroll shared services is now going to be reporting through HR shared services and directly through me. So what we're trying to do here is just ensure, so we're going to hire an interim director of payroll to manage and direct all the aspects of payroll and to ensure compliance with laws, regulations, and all the CBAs. And I think this new structure will assist in improving the quality of services that we provide to employees and actually merge both the payroll and the HR staff. So everything that we do and any transactions that we make always affect payroll, right? So anything we do as far as pay, promotions, increases, longevity payments, new hires, everything, we have to collaborate with the payroll department. So I think by this new model, I think it's going to help us to improve the quality of services that we provide and just to collaborate on all those pay transactions. And, we're continuously looking for ways to improve our services. And I think this is going to really assist in that process. So I've highlighted some actions that we're going to be implementing in the coming months. So I'll go through those. The first, as I said, is to merge the payroll and the HR data services for more efficient processing and more collaboration with the two teams. So currently we have a data analyst in HR and then 8 data specialists that report through, right now they report through the Director of Compensation, Benefits, and HR Administration. But with this transition, the HR data analyst and the data specialist will report through this new Director of Payroll, because the data specialists are actually the ones who make all the changes in core that then are sent to the payroll staff so they can do their part in updating core. So they'll just be able to harmonize any changes that are made and just to collaborate more closely when any changes need to be made. We're also going to create an auditing unit to conduct more frequent audits on payments to employees. And this should be happening on a biweekly basis. So we're going to do definitely more frequent audits of payroll. We're gonna, right now, we sometimes get concerns that employees don't know who to contact in payroll. So we're going to, like we did for HR shared services, we're gonna create a comprehensive website for payroll so we can disseminate any payroll information, whether it's forms, whether it's calendar information, anything regarding payroll. We need to publicize that information and create a website. We're also going to create a customer service unit to respond to any inquiries. Right now they have a payroll mailbox, but we want to be able to have a customer service unit so we can monitor and evaluate the effectiveness of this new structure once we do fully transition. We currently have our payroll staff working remotely. We're going to require payroll staff to have a presence on campus. We often get questions from employees, who can I talk to in payroll? And employees still, even after COVID, employees still like to see people in person. So we're going to try to have a payroll presence on the campuses so employees can go in, whether they have questions about forms, whether they have questions about their pay, about their deductions, they'll be able to go into the campus offices to actually speak to someone in person. We're also working towards a centralized onboarding unit. So currently, and I'll talk a little bit later about our onboarding and orientation for new employees, but there's some overlap right now between HR and payroll. So we're going to centralize that and have more cohesion between the two units once it's merged. And then we have just recently hired 2 new payroll staff to assist with the transition and some of the workflow that payroll is experiencing. So those are, I don't know if you have any questions right now about the transition with payroll now reporting under HR shared services. If not, I can continue on to the rest of the update.
Diana had a couple questions.
Sure.
Are you currently looking for the interim director of payroll? Is that posted?
So we've hired someone on a temporary basis, but we're going to be, once we get this up and running, we will be posting that position.
And then you're talking about a website and better customer service, having a customer service unit. Do you have an estimated date of when that'll be available?
So I would say that the website, I know when I first started in this role, it took us up to 6 months to get our website's obviously very comprehensive, but and it covers the 5 centers of excellence. So I'm hoping to work with IT in the coming months to get the website up and running. I mean, we're always, even with our HR Shared Services website, we're continually updating it, adding information. So I expect to at least have something in the next 2 to 3 months. And the same with the customer service unit. I mean, that I'd like to do as quickly as possible.
A common number with the customer service unit, so any employee can just call one number if they have a question.
Yeah, I mean, it's more of providing, it's more of monitoring and evaluating what the questions are that come in and how we can better serve our employees. But yeah, right now they have a mailbox, which, I need to make sure that people are responding immediately or at least within 24 hours to those requests. But we had some concerns from some employees that they weren't getting immediate feedback. So, we're responding to some of the concerns that come in from employees.
Aside from all the positive things you've mentioned, is this going to save the state any money?
Yes, I hope it will. Yes, I mean, we're trying to avoid any issues with overpayments or missed payments, and that sometimes takes a lot of time and effort and to research those. So I think this will expedite the process and take less resources. Yes. So I believe it will save us eventually.
Diane,
Yes.
I think it's worthwhile to try to quantify, the savings, even if they're projected savings, to show that having the two organizations be a part of the same, department, and in fact, will allow for greater efficiencies from an auditing perspective, allow you to monitor the auditing, sort of the processes better. It's better security. That's the sense I'm getting, that it's better security and being able to articulate how that is. All of those, I think, especially during these times when, there are these expectations that should be managing our organizations more efficiently, that I think it's important to be as precise as possible about sort of why we're doing this, but as Rich said, sort of what are the financial benefits of doing it this way? And not only financial, but from, sort of from a security perspective, why it's better to do things this way.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
If I could add to that, I don't want to create the expectation that we're going to save money in the short run with this change. In addition, I mean, we're going to do everything we can to provide for the sort of customer service capacity and auditing capacity within existing staff. But that's going to be a bit of a transition. There are the existing payroll staff have full workloads in all respects. We certainly are working to make sure that they are, that those workloads are balanced and that they're appropriate, and so they're able to do their work without errors and correctly the first time. But there are a lot of moving pieces, both including training and making sure that our existing staff is doing their work correctly and in a uniform manner. That's an issue that we've been encountering over and over again since payroll first started, that the way in which one payroll staff member from one campus would handle a certain transaction might be a little different from the way another person would do it. That kind of inconsistent approach is a real problem for us in terms of maintaining high quality and avoiding errors. I can think of recent examples where there have been overpayments that because two separate payroll clerks used different methodologies to implement some pay provision, and that they didn't recognize that, and an overpayment resulted. Clearly, when an overpayment results, lots more people get involved. We have to do full audits of some period of payroll to make sure that we've done it correctly. We got to get to a point where we're working with as high as possible level of accuracy the first time through. But initially, I think that may require that we staff up a little bit in the auditing and customer service areas without necessarily moving people out of the basic payroll processing function. I think in the long run, there is enough time to do it if we do it right the first time. And that's certainly something that we're trying to put systems in place.
And will that new director of payroll handle all of that standardization process?
That is, yes, that is the task that we have given to the interim and to the whoever ends up taking the job on a permanent basis. Yes, that is integrating the work of both the HR data and the payroll, as well as the within payroll, the auditing and customer service functions, making sure that we have the appropriate feedback into the day-to-day processing.
The security is a big one too, I think. And she mentioned that security is an important factor. I didn't quite understand how it becomes more secure or safe through the process. I know it's all getting funneled, but how is that going to enable it to be a more secure process than the one we have? Outside of, for instance, two different treasurers or whatever submitting different styles.
Well, we are maintaining a segregation of duties so that there will be one group within this payroll umbrella that would, enter in the information about a new employee, for instance, and say, yes, Rich now is an employee and here's his payroll record and he's been assigned to, we've entered his information into core in accordance with the notice of appointment that HR provided when we recruited you. And then there would be a separate group that would be calculating your payroll. That's important from a segregation of duty standpoint. You can't set somebody up in the payroll system and then pay them because that is an invitation to abuse and embezzlement. So we're maintaining that segregation of duties, but we're also, I think, the auditing, the segregating an auditing function outside of the people who are managing day-to-day payroll operations and transactions will give us the ability to identify if there's anything going wrong, if there's a particular employee whose transactions are somehow at odds with the approach and the procedures that we've set up for the entire system. I think the auditing function is really very key. We've been developing that to some degree, but we have not yet had the resources to fully stand up an auditing section within payroll to give them the resources that they need. I think that's going to be very key to our success.
I just have one other question, and if this can be taken offline if it's distracting you from sort of some other things you want to talk about. But I noticed that one of the things you talk about is that I understand you want to become more customer service oriented, but people who are working remotely are now going to be asked to come back onto the campus. And one of the things I was trying to understand is why those employees who are working remotely, those payroll folks who are working remotely, why they cannot provide the same level of service remotely.
Well-
I understand. I come from a world where a very large organization, and there were a lot of HR services that were provided remotely out of necessity. So.
No, I agree. I mean, we can provide quality service remotely as well as we could in person. But what I'm saying is we are getting requests from employees that they want to talk to someone, because we do have a lot of our employees who are on ground and who work in the office. So we can provide the quality service remotely, but I'd also like to provide quality services in person as well, because those are some of the requests that we're getting from employees.
Okay.
I share your concern, Regent Wright, that may not seem entirely rational. I think that we have been able to provide, good service. I mean, look, there are things we can improve. I don't think those have much to do with whether we're remote or in person. The tools that the employees have are the same, whether they're core CT is accessible from any internet connection in the state of Connecticut, as far as I'm concerned, and we can certainly do the work. But there have been very direct requests from rank and file employees and leadership within CT State to have a greater on-campus presence. This has been one of the sort of flashpoints for frustration with the changed system. And we think it's probably better to provide some of that in-person assistance rather than to continue to engender frustration on the part of some of our employees, which ultimately undermines our success.
Yeah, it's sometimes the frustration comes from not being able to get the same level of access to talk to a live body, and perhaps thinking that if you have somebody sitting on campus, they have some place to walk into, and just, all I'm saying is that and you probably know this, you have to manage the expectations, because there's sometimes, if you can talk to a live body, and I think that's what a lot of people are looking for, whether it's through Zoom or through a telephone conversation, you can help that person as effectively as if they were on campus. And sometimes when somebody is sitting on campus, it makes it more challenging if people want the flexibility of being able to walk into somebody's office and just talk to them whenever they need to. I don't know if I'm making myself clear.
Yeah, no, I understand. And I always reiterate to employees that, they say, well, you won't, this person's only on campus 2 days a week, but I say this person's available 5 days a week, 8 to 5 p.m. and they can provide the exact same services that they can in person versus remotely. So I agree with you. But again, as Ben said, these are the requests that we're getting from campus leaders, that they want us to have a presence on campus.
Okay.
Okay, great. And just going back to what question I asked earlier, right? Is part of this because there's no phone number they can call? Is part of this because they only have an email box? And
Well, so, yeah, I mean, they can get them through Teams. Yeah, I mean, some of them do, some of our payroll team does have, are in the office, and but they didn't know who to contact. So we now have a payroll list of who to contact on what campus. So we're getting the word out. We're just, more communication to employees so they know exactly who to contact, whether they're in person or remotely.
Thank you.
I would just like to point out that one of the real structural challenges with creating a shared service organization is that you are a service organization. So, payroll is, in one respect, is management. I mean, this is that is the mechanism that management uses to pay its employees, which is sort of basic part of the exchange. And yet, it is ultimately we are being, we need to provide a level of service to the receiving organization, in this case CT State, that up to their that meets their expectations, and so that's a challenge. We, I think, are embracing that and endeavoring to provide a sort of service-oriented delivery of payroll to a greater degree than we have been, and that, I think, when the receiving organization, when CT State or its employees say we really want some in-person help, well, I think our position is that we're going to try to find a way to do that and provide. I mean, it's not an unreasonable thing to ask for, and so we're going to try to accommodate that. As we go forward, I hope that some of this, the concerns about dealing with people online and the concerns about the quality of the services that we heard over again, I think a lot of these are, I hope will resolve themselves with our attention to service and people growing accustomed to new structures for meeting their employment needs.
Just a kind, now we're debating, but there's something about face-to-face individuals as a conversation I have with you now is much different than I would have with you on a screen, for that matter. And I think, I'm not saying you need to do it 5 days a week, but I do think it's important. I think it's good for camaraderie, et cetera, esprit de corps that you develop in whatever agency or wherever you are, to have at least a few days a week where we can see each other, talk to each other, and actually see body motion, et cetera, that you can't see or get the same kind of feeling from on a screen. That was just a comment, nothing outside of the fact that I believe in.
No, I certainly do. I mean, it will remain, telework will remain. All the, many of our payroll employees are in classified bargaining units that are covered by the statewide telework rules, which are in fact more permissive of telework and more requiring of telework than our own CT state policies.
All right, so I will move, if there are no more questions, I'll move on to the next topic. So in the last 6 to 8 months, we've implemented a new employee orientation onboarding for all full-time employees. And what we do is just collaborate with offices across the system to introduce employees to all aspects of the system. It's usually done on a Friday, which is the first day of a pay period when employees start. It's most of the day, and it just allows employees the opportunity to learn what what CSCU offers for benefits and services. It also includes a 2-hour diversity training by our EEO division. And basically, you know, we're trying to promote communication and engage employees early on in their early part of their employment. So we've also recently completed and we're ready to roll out a similar process for both part-time lecturers and non-credit lecturers. Obviously, we hire hundreds of part-time employees per semester, and it's not at the same time. So it's the process is different, but we're working with the CT State marketing team to create a video with some of this information that we use for full-time staff. Obviously, the benefits are a little bit different for part-timers, but we're trying to create a video, a modified version of what the orientation looks like. And this will help to expedite the process to onboard these part-time employees, and it will allow them to have the information on what we offer for benefits and services. So the part-time onboardings is a little bit more challenging, but if we have some consistent process that we're going to be rolling out in the next probably month or so. But the new employee orientation for full-timers has really been successful. We've gotten some good feedback. We ask for employees to provide feedback after they've had the orientation, and you know, we've made some adjustments to it, but I think we've had a lot of success because early on we tell them, you know, we introduce them to the leadership, we tell them the mission and the vision of the system, we provide training, policies, union information. So there's a wealth of information that we provide to them on their first day. Prior to that, they've already met with an HR staff member to go over in more detail about what the benefits are, but this is kind of an introduction to the system and what we have to offer. So again, we've got some requests to expedite processing for part-time lecturers, and so that's why we're going to be rolling out the orientation and onboarding for that population.
Any questions?
Okay. All right, so the next thing, and this is just a brief, you know, regarding recruitment and talent acquisition. So we have added an additional recruitment manager to assist in more oversight for the hiring process. So we've also revised policies to reduce some steps in the process, which have resulted in improvement in timeframes for searches. So we're trying to have the searches be 90 days or less. I mean, if they're 30 or 60 days, great, but we don't want the hiring process to be to last for more than 90 days. So we've done some things. We work closely with EEO. Initially, when you become a search committee member, you have to be charged. The committee has to be charged. They also have to go through bias training. And that charge and that training, we try to do that early on in the process when the position is posted. So that charge and the training will be done at the initial stages. So once the posting has been expired, we can then release the resumes to the committees so they can start reviewing the resumes. Then we can set up interviews. So we're just early on, and this is a year or so ago, a year and a half ago, we did get a lot of complaints and concerns that the process was taking a lot of time to get through it. So we've added some steps, reduced some steps in the process, and I believe we've improved the timeframes for the searches. Sometimes there's holdups in searches, but I believe we've definitely improved the timeline it takes to process these searches from start to finish. We did lose a few. We also lost some staff in the recruitment area, but we're managing with the resources that we have, and we're still able to expedite the searches for the various positions that we recruit for.
Are there any questions about recruiting, talent acquisition?
No?
All right. And then the last item I wanted to update you on is we're trying to we're utilizing ServiceNow, which is a service management application, to build out forms for automation and through a workflow process. So we have so many forms that take some time to process, right? And they're all manual. We can use electronic signatures, but the one specifically that we started with was the request to fill form. So if you have a vacant position and you want to request to fill that position, it goes through several steps in the process. So it starts with the hiring manager, HR approves it, finance approves it, the CEO approves it, CT state leadership approves it. So it's a long process and a tedious process. So what we did was we use ServiceNow, and every employee has access to it, but we worked with IT, and it was a pretty aggressive timeline. We completed this process in about 7 weeks. So now employees are able to go into ServiceNow, complete the form, request a position for refill, and it takes you through the entire process through the workflow. So we've just completed that process. It's ready to be rolled out. We have online training so we're going to be rolling that out in the coming weeks. The training they're like 5-minute training. So if anyone wants to know how to do it, it's a very simple process. But there's definitely a need for automation of various HR forms and processes. So we're hoping this is the start of many. I'm hoping to work with IT. I know we mentioned security before. There's not a lot of data in this particular form for the request to fill, but I'd like to roll out some other forms. Like, for instance, we're talking about the direct deposit form, which has confidential information on it. So rather than emailing it or even bringing it in person, an employee can just go in, fill it out, and then it'll go to a secure location, and then payroll can get the information from the application. So again, I'd like to work towards using a workflow for many of our forms in the future. So this was the most complicated one, and I think we've accomplished what we set out to do. And we'll know more as we roll it out in the coming weeks. So does anyone have any questions on that?
So long-term, it looks like you want to include a variety of different things they can do that are HR functions within ServiceNow. So eventually, will that also track things like the payroll questions we were talking about, and they go in and fill out a form so that it builds a ticket and then it gets tracked easily?
Yes, because that's what we use ServiceNow for like IT questions, if you have a problem with your computer and things like that, and you can actually track the progress of it, where it is, and the same for this RTF form. So at any point, if I completed the form, I'm the hiring manager, I can go into the system at any time to track where it is and who's approved it. And once it's finalized, it automatically generates an email to the hiring manager and to HR to inform them that we can now move forward with the process because it's been fully completed and approved.
Very much thinking, I mean, the ServiceNow model is, supported by the system. That we've got the licenses, we can roll this out. We have consultants available who can help us set up more complicated workflow and other forms. But I think it's a great direction to move for some of the customer service requirements in payroll as well.
Well, definitely, because then you have real control over tracking, and you can data, you can make yourself a sheet, so you could actually even look in and, oh, we had 24 questions yesterday and 20 were solved and 3 were open.
Well, and
Makes it much easier to know what's going on day to day.
and accountability for the people who are responding to these questions, to know, the timeliness with which they're responding, the accuracy of their response, there's a whole trail. If somebody feels that they have received poor quality customer service through that system, we can go back and look, see whether that's true or not. I know that we're a big organization. We have a lot of folks who are, unhappy about things one way or another. And so this will give us sort of a solid base of facts to refer back to when issues arise.
Well, you can also assign your SLAs in, right? So if you're saying we'll get back to you within a day, it can alarm if it's been more than a day.
Yep.
Since it's been touched. So that's a great advancement, sounds like.
Yeah, and the piece that has been developed so far with the request to fill, which is tedious because it has to go from, multiple people have to sign off on this. And so doing ad hoc workflow is problematic, which is why it was our first item. We're anticipating that we will roll this out to the system office any day, essentially. We'll probably put it in place over the next several weeks. But that it's my hope that at least for July 1 or sometime over the summer to fully implement that across CT State, which is that's what really makes sense given the decentralized, people are spread out. Positions will be requested from people at different campuses and require sign-offs around the organization. And I think the financial management at CT State needs to have visibility to that process. They're managing it now, and I know that's a tedious undertaking for them to manage ad hoc approvals across the whole system. So this should be a real time saver for them once they put that startup time into getting everybody trained and getting the system underway.
Are there any other questions related to the ServiceNow integration?
All right, so that concluded my updates to HR shared services. Any other questions?
No? We're good. All right. Thank you, Diane. That was a great presentation. We appreciated the update. Thank you, Ben, for being there as well. Overall, are there any other, now that we have them held hostage here, are there any other questions the Regents have for Ben or Diane? Looks like we're in good shape. All right. So that was the presentation for today. Also, I'll write a sum up of that I can present to the board at the meeting next week. You bet. I appreciate that. And so is there any other business? It looks like we're looking for a motion to adjourn.
Before you do,
Yes.
did you approve the minutes?
We did.
Oh, you did? I didn't get to vote on
Would you like?
it. No, I just wanted to make sure that was done.
voting over.
Consider.
Oh, I didn't know. I just wanted to make sure that was done. I didn't see it marked. Okay,
Absolutely.
motion to adjourn, so moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Do you have a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
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 Have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thanks, everyone.
Your live stream stopped.